Tonight, a Premiership footballer is arrested. St Mirren's Sean Rooney is alleged to have assaulted an 18-year-old woman and committed a hate crime outside a Glasgow takeaway.
Also making the headlines, a family's bid to be reunited. A Glasgow taxi driver fears his loved ones will be forced back into Taliban-controlled land.
I need to get them here as soon as possible before something else happens.
As Rangers start their European campaign with a win, Philippe Clement says his team is continuing to improve.
And from sock pairing to rubber ducks, the care home residents tackling their very own Olympic Games. I'm Kellyanne Woodland in Edinburgh.
And I'm John Mackay in Glasgow. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. The Premiership footballer Sean Rooney has been arrested and charged in connection with the alleged assault of a woman and a hate crime in Glasgow city centre.
28-year-old Rooney, who plays for St Mirren, is due to appear in court. Well, our reporter Vanessa Taff is at the club's stadium in Paisley for us. Vanessa, what more do you know?
Well, St Mirren announced yesterday that they had suspended Sean Rooney to investigate what the club called an alleged incident involving the player. We now know that the 28-year-old is accused of assaulting an 18-year-old woman in a Glasgow city centre takeaway in the early hours of last Thursday morning. Now, in a statement, Police Scotland confirmed he was arrested and charged in connection with that assault and also a breach of the peace, which is being treated as a hate crime. Well, in a pre-match media conference earlier on, here's what the club's manager had to say.
It's a club decision. I wasn't involved. As I say, that's above me. I deal with football decisions, and it's not a football decision.
Do you feel let down by Sean, Stephen?
A club made a statement. I have to concentrate on the players that are in front of me. The disappointment for me is I can't select a very good player.
Well, the player played over the weekend, I should say, whenever St Mirren took on Hearts. But all of this came to light whenever Sean Rooney himself told the club that he was in trouble. The 28-year-old is due in court and will be off the pitch for the foreseeable future.
All right, from Paisley, thank you, Vanessa. A taxi driver whose family is stranded in Pakistan after fleeing Afghanistan fears they will be forced back into Taliban-controlled land. 3 years to the day since a suicide bomb almost killed Jan Mohammed Ahmadzai's family, they've been granted UK visas.
The father of 5 says he's over the moon. His loved ones finally have permission to start a new life in Scotland, but is appealing to UK and Pakistani authorities to help them find a safer route to Glasgow. Jan has been speaking to our chief reporter, Sian Frew.
1 week. 1 week.
1 week, okay.
Thousands of miles away, Jan's son is counting down the days until he sees his father again. This time, he and the rest of the family plan to return to Scotland with him. Confirmation that their visas have finally been approved arrived in a late-night message from their lawyer.
It was unbelievable because I was just dreaming for that email and the kids were just happy and jumping. We can make it, we can come to Glasgow now.
Bye-bye.
Jan's youngest son is now 3. He was 5 days old when the family travelled to Kabul airport in the days after the Taliban seized control of Afghanistan. A bomb attack then prevented them from being processed and allowed onto an evacuation flight bound for the UK. Legal and travel documents were lost in the chaos and the family fled to Pakistan.
We are completely being ignored.
Jan, a British citizen who has lived and worked in Glasgow for almost 2 decades, was forced to leave his wife and children behind as he continued to plea with the authorities for help. Now, finally, permission to come to the UK has been granted, but as they are undocumented in Pakistan, Jan fears his family face being deported to Afghanistan as they make their way to Glasgow. He is frantic to find them a safer passage.
I contacted the British High Commission in Islamabad. I spoke to them for hours over the phone, but it seems to be like helpless and hopeless. They got only 90 days in their UK visa entry clearances, so I need to get them here as soon as possible before something else happen. All the hurdles ahead is just ticking in my head. It says if things doesn't go smooth, then everything will be just upside down.
His suitcase is already packed, and the taxi driver says he's working day and night to pay for flights to bring his loved ones to Glasgow.
I've been telling them good things, be positive and all that. We've got a ground outside it, and I show them the ground. It says we are going to play cricket, we are going to play soccer here. All these things are just keep us going. It's a hope. It's a hope.
The Foreign Office has been contacted for comment. Jan remains focused on the day he can finally show his children the place he now calls home. Sharon Frew, STV News, Glasgow.
Russell Finlay is the new Scottish Conservative leader. He takes over from Douglas Ross, who was forced to quit during the general election campaign.
The West of Scotland MSP says many voters are scunnered by politics and accepts that his party must change to win back public trust. Our political editor Colin Mackay reports.
Only one of these three ever looked like winning.
Russell Finlay MSP is elected as leader of the Scottish Conservative and Unionist Party.
And he won convincingly. We now know the Scottish Conservatives have 6,941 members. They wouldn't tell us that during the campaign. 60% of them voted, and more than half of them backed Russell Finlay.
Right. Quite enough, thank you. And I want to deliver a message to people across Scotland who don't feel that anyone represents them, who are scunnered by the divisiveness and the fringe obsessions of the Scottish Parliament, who feel let down and failed by politicians of every single party, sometimes including ours, who think politicians are all the same. If you feel that way, I get it, but I'm not the same.
What kind of Tory are you? What kind of Tory leader will you be?
Well, I'll be a leader that speaks to ordinary people across Scotland. You know, I look at what goes on in Holyrood so often and shake my head at what we waste huge amounts of time talking about and debating.
But
and
you backed Liz Truss for the leadership of the party before. People shake their heads at that.
Well, you know, politicians make mistakes and I hold my hands up.
And already the losing candidates are trying to get back on side.
Well, of course you're disappointed not to win, but congratulations to Russell on his victory, and I look forward to working with him in whatever role he might decide to offer me.
Do you think he has to do it differently from the last guy?
Well, look, it comes down to personalities. Now, Russell's got a really good personality, he's got a dry sense of humour, so I'm looking forward to seeing that come out in the chamber when he's tackling John Swinney at FMQs. But we all need to come back together as a team. That's really, really important because broken parties don't win elections.
And elections are looming here at Holyrood in 2026, and maybe even earlier if the government can't get its budget through. Colin Mackay, STV News.
Other stories, and a trial which scrapped peak rail prices comes to an end today. Around £40 million has been spent in the scheme since it began last year. The Scottish Government said not enough passengers used the service during that time. From Monday, return tickets between Glasgow and Edinburgh will nearly double to around £31.
Scotland's biggest local government union will ballot all 90,000 of its members on strike action after local government authority COSLA decided to implement its current offer on employees, despite trade union Unison's rejection. The Scottish Government said COSLA's decision will get money in the pockets of workers before Christmas.
The shipbuilders Harland and Wolff, which has yards in Methil and Arnish, have formally entered into administration. Last week, bosses said between 50 and 60 immediate redundancies are expected, but that staff employed at all four of its shipyards are not affected. No fumes, no diesel, just electric. A fisherman in Argyll has converted his fishing boat to become the first in the UK fleet to be powered by battery. Hans Uncles designed and carried out the work in his shed over the course of more than 2 years.
Not only has he cut his emissions, he's also seen a significant reduction in his running costs. Our political correspondent Ewan Petrie has been to speak to him.
we're not going to make any kind of transition without taking some sort of hit on our behaviour. Our whole generation's had all the good times, but we don't want to give anything back.
Off the Argyll coast, this is believed to be the world's only commercial fishing boat, powered entirely by battery.
I've been a boat builder, a fisherman for 40 odd years. I've got the facilities, the workshops there.
Hans originally bought this boat to wind down to retirement. Instead, he spent 2.5 years converting it from diesel to electric.
When the battery tech became good enough, then I really didn't have a reason not to do it, apart from the cost.
The total bill came to more than £130,000. However, building a new regular vessel would cost only slightly less, and the running costs on this are significantly lower.
I've worked the boat since March, it's now September. I would have probably spent £1,500 on diesel, whereas I've spent a total of £335 on an electric, and that's the total fuel bill for this summer. The big saving is that there's no oil filters, no fuel filters. The maintenance is a fraction.
I keep calling it an engine room hatch, but it's actually now the battery room because there is no engine.
The battery has a range of up to 60 miles. Ideal for this kind of fishing, with Hans doing 30 to 40 miles each trip.
It's a nice lobster.
The boat is also fitted with bifacial solar panels, taking in rays from above and reflected off the sea. On a sunny day, that produces enough energy to power the boat or a kettle.
Right now we've got 620 watts coming in from the solar.
Since March, half the power used has come from solar. The rest is from plugging in at the pontoon.
This won't suit everybody, but there's a significant number of boats that it would suit. And the beauty of it as well is that you're then producing a product at the end of the day that's got almost no impact whatsoever. Making the boat's not the problem, that's straightforward. Administering it is a whole different story.
Paperwork proved one of the biggest obstacles. A documentary captured the race to get the boat declared safe in time for a funding deadline.
I'm effectively standing on a tightrope and I've got no safety net and I've got no way back. I've made this boat, I've been funded to do that, and then I've just been left. That's probably a big reason why there's no uptake. It's all very well having a boat, but if it starts letting you down, your business isn't viable. So after support is absolutely critical.
This project may have cleared a path for others to follow, but until the infrastructure is in place, Hans is likely to continue to cut a solitary figure in the fishing industry. Ewan Petrie, STV News, Teavalach.
2 women have been charged in relation to human trafficking and brothel keeping offences in Renfrewshire. 3 properties in Paisley were raided yesterday following a joint operation by police and the Home Office. The offences related to a property in the Abercorn Street area of the town. Women aged 38 and 44 have been arrested and will appear in court next month. Some type 1 diabetics in Scotland say they're struggling to access their medication. One man has told STV News he's had to visit 6 pharmacies in an effort to obtain the potentially life-saving drug insulin. Raheem Cham reports.
For 55 years, Alan has been living with type 1 diabetes, and every 3 days he pumps insulin. But he's fearful he won't be able to get his life-saving medicine after it was unavailable in 6 different pharmacies.
There was no insulin available at the local pharmacy and we had to look elsewhere for it, which seemed a bit strange. But after visiting about 5 or 6 different pharmacies, it became apparent there wasn't any insulin available in Glasgow. And we did track something down to Partick, where there was a pharmacy where they had some insulin. And I was speaking to one of the nurses, and apparently they said that there was only something like 4 vials available in the whole of Glasgow. 2 out in Kirkintilloch and 2 in the High Street pharmacy.
Type 1 diabetics like Alan, who take their insulin from a vial, are facing national shortages. Patients who use pre-filled pens are not affected. A key ingredient also used for type 2 diabetics is in short supply, as it's used in a popular weight loss drug.
Most stock issues are very short-term in nature, so as long as the patients maybe have some medication at home, are ordering in advance, giving the pharmacy team that time, then they can sort out any issues, in conjunction maybe with other healthcare professionals.
A lot of medication online that are maybe like off-label, unlicensed, that people are getting not through like a healthcare practitioner, whether that be their GP, pharmacist, elsewhere. I would not recommend that. I would recommend you go down the route of following the advice from your prescribing practitioner.
The government says it's aware of the shortage of Novorapid injection in vials and also warned that supply disruptions may take time to stabilise.
We need to make sure supply is getting to Scottish patients. That means working smarter within Scotland, between pharmacies and GP surgeries, looking at alternatives, because of course this isn't the only insulin medication that there's a shortage of, there are others. So we need to get much smarter at how we work and how we ensure that the patient is not the one that suffers.
Doctors are prescribing alternative drugs for patients like Alan, but that won't treat his worry about accessing his medicine. Raheem Cham, STV News, Glasgow.
Now Rahman is here with the sport.
STV Sport, sponsored by the C.R. Smith Autumn Sale.
Good evening. Hearts defender Stephen Kingsley says the sacking of Stephen Naismith sent shockwaves through the dressing room and the players must take responsibility for the current situation at the club. Liam Fox is in interim charge until Naismith's successor is appointed, and he's confident the squad have the quality to turn their season around. Here's Ronnie Charters.
A turbulent week, but it's back down to business for Heart of Midlothian. Stephen Naismith out, Liam Fox temporarily in, as the Tynecastle club look to turn their fortunes around. The club sacked Stephen Naismith on Sunday after more than a year in charge. That following 8 straight defeats.
Devastating days. I mean, it's been a disappointing few months that's led to this, and it's something that I think definitely was obviously shockwaves around the changing room when it did. But yeah, that's the nature of the game, unfortunately, and I think no one feels more responsibility than us as players. I think for it's not just the coaching staff that that have to deal with it. It's us as well.
So for the moment, it falls to Liam Fox, the B-team boss, to guide Hearts through this spell. He confirmed an injury blow today, with Gerald Taylor set for months on the sidelines with a knee injury. But Fox is still confident they have the quality in-house to turn this season around.
Because of the group of players, because I've seen them this week, I've seen the qualities that they have, and like I say, hopefully I can pass the baton to the new manager when we're in everything's a wee bit calmer, we're in a better place. We'll hopefully have some better performances, and hopefully that leads to results, and I can pass it to the next guy that's coming in, which is, I'm sure, it's a brilliant job for anybody to take, and I'm sure there'll be a hell of a lot of people interest in the job.
So the pressure is on these Hearts players to start delivering results and start delivering them fast. It all starts this weekend against Ross County. Ronnie Charters, STV Sport in Edinburgh.
Philippe Clement says his team are continuing to grow. That after Rangers started their Europa League campaign with a convincing win over Malmo. Nadim Bayrami and Ross McCausland scored in the 2-0 victory in Sweden last night. At Celtic, Brendan Rodgers has expressed his frustration over the scheduling of their match against St Johnstone tomorrow.
Good morning.
At Celtic, Brendan Rodgers takes his team to Perth tomorrow. The match kicks off at 5:45, and with a Champions League clash away to Borussia Dortmund to follow on Tuesday night, Rodgers believes the scheduling of the St Johnstone fixture could be better.
I think for all British teams it is a frustration. I'll watch Borussia Dortmund. We'll play tonight. They'll play Bochum on Friday, so they're able to move the game that day earlier. So it gives them 3 full days to prepare for our game, and the game at home for us will not be probably home till after midnight from the game tomorrow, and then it's a very, very quick turnaround.
Cameron Carter-Vickers will miss tomorrow's match through injury. It's not yet known if the defender will be fit for Dortmund. Now, Celtic's women's team have been handed a tough Champions League draw. Elena Sadiku's side, who progressed to the group stage following the 3-0 Aggregate win over Vorskla Poltava will face Chelsea, Real Madrid and Dutch outfit FC Twente. The fixture dates have still to be announced.
I'm just really happy for the players. Like, they're living their dream. They're going to play the top players out in Europe. And that's exactly what we want to do. We want to compete out in Europe, and we need to learn from this experience because it's going to be tough.
Rugby, and ahead of Glasgow Warriors' first home league game of the new campaign tonight, head coach Franco Smith says one of the team's biggest challenges is handling expectation. The Warriors, who won the URC title last season, host Benetton at Scotstoun, a side which Smith believes will be challenging for the trophy. Glasgow lost narrowly to Ulster last weekend.
We actually have achieved something that should inspire us, that shouldn't be the finish line. So hopefully that is the case, and therefore we don't have to look at the expectations that are around us, and I'm sure complacency will not set in here because the group has decided that they want to improve and keep on improving to another level.
One final piece of football news, and that is John Moss is to quit as the SFA's VAR manager after less than 2 months in the job. That, folks, is all your sport tonight. Have a great weekend. See you next week.
STV Sport, sponsored by the C.R. Smith Autumn Sale.
All right, now Philip has your weather forecast.
A spell of wows will gradually settle into a scattering of traditional tapas. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Hello and a very good evening to you. As we head into the weekend, we've got a frontal system crossing the country. That will bring with it spells of rain, and all the time we're in that cold northerly airflow once again, dragging in that Arctic air. So it will be feeling quite chilly through Saturday and Sunday. Back to just now, still 1 or 2 scattered showers around as we start the evening, but gradually those will fizzle out. And then through the second half of the night, it will be largely dry with some clear skies. So under the clear conditions, could see a touch of frost. Temperatures dropping to lows of around 2 or 3 degrees Celsius in some rural spots. Looking ahead to Saturday, like I said, we've got this frontal system moving in from the west. So through the morning, we'll see some thicker cloud and some spells of rain. Then through the afternoon, it will be turning more showery, and there will be more in the way of brighter and drier spells between those showers, with temperatures reaching highs of around 12 or 13 degrees Celsius. It's worth noting as well, through Saturday night and also Sunday night, there is a small chance of catching the northern lights. The best chance will be the further north you are, under any clear skies. And then looking ahead to Sunday, a chilly start to the day, but overall a largely fine and dry day. Plenty of brighter spells, the exception being the further north we come, where we will see some cloud across the Northern Isles and 1 or 2 showers. We're now into a southerly airflow, so it will be feeling less cold with highs of 14. Bye-bye.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Now, more than 90 residents from care homes across West Lothian have gathered to take part in their own Olympic Games.
The eager athletes took on sock pairing and hook-a-duck challenges in a bid to promote health and well-being among the elderly. Our reporter Laura Piper joined them.
For these enthusiastic athletes, age is just a number. They're competing in their own Olympics with rubber ducks, beanbags and that notorious challenge, sock pairing.
We enjoy getting together and just talking and laughing.
Staying part and getting out for a wee while because I'm sitting at home. And when they look after you, really good.
Well, the companionship, the way they all knit together, I mean, it's absolutely great. Really, really good.
I've heard there's a wee scone, a cup of tea and a dance later as well.
Oh, that'll be good, aye. A long time since I've been winching, you know.
The Cannes Olympics have been running for a decade, promoting health and fitness among care home residents.
They have a right off the older generation within their care setting. We've got some here that were perhaps basketball players, volleyball players, badminton players in their lifetime, and to be able to encourage a level of activity that they can still achieve at this time in their life is fantastic.
Physical activity is a protective factor for heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and even some types of cancer.
Good fun, good laughter, good banter. The room, you can feel the sense of community in the room, the sense of joy and pride with all the different care home residents. So it's a great afternoon.
And with celebratory tea and scones all around, everyone is a winner. Laura Piper, STV News, West Lothian.
So John, we know you like your tie collecting, but how about your sock pairing?
To be honest, I was distracted with the scones there, so I'm not really sure what was going on with the socks.
Thinking of foods.
Good night.